My name is Sambo Yusuf, and my colleague's name is Dege Kenneth. We'll be talking about forecasting. Since its inception in 2000, the firm has operated with four different products aimed at the health and fitness market to date. The general manager believes that the firm has done well in terms of sales, and however, at no point has the previous data been analyzed to provide statistical evidence of these positive sales. It is very clear that some external factors have affected the sales performance of certain products. Most damagingly, the negative publicity associated with fat loss tablets that arose at the end of 2011 caused a sharp decline in sales of less. Also, the effectiveness of the promotional campaign launched for Quench in 2012 had not been analyzed. The remainder of this report seeks to evaluate these issues and provide a forecast for the future sales growth of all four of the company products. I'll be talking about the methodology. There are several methods that can be used when forecasting from previous data. If the data is constant and average for all previous data, can be taken to give an example of a simple mean average. In some cases, the data will not have shown constant values over time, in which case forecasting is more difficult to to alleviate this, a moving average can be used, which is an average of the last few data points that were deemed to be relevant. For example, the last 3 points. A regression can also be discussed in which a trend line is drawn from the previous data and the future data forecast using the equation of the trend line. I'll be talking of the max stop. Sales data for a max stop on figure 1 fluctuates from year to year. However, the overall trend is a constant mean with slight negative growth. In order to forecast sales for question 3, 2013 two methods were used. Firstly, a moving average was calculated from the previous 3 sales quarter. This gives a good indication of what sales will look like based on the most recent sales data. However, due to the unstable nature of the product sales history, a regression using a trend line was also used, taking into consideration the entire sales history of the product by averaging these two methods. A fair representation of how the products will sell in future periods could be calculated with sales slightly more weight on the products more recent from performance without discounting its unpredictable fluctuation historic sales data. For less is more, the historic sales data is very unstable, which makes it difficult to forecast accurately. However, by combining two separate forecast methods, a reasonable compromise can be found. Firstly, a moving average was calculated using sales figures from the previous 3 quarters. This gives a value which discounts all previous data but is based on the product's most recent sales performance. Secondly, a regression method was calculated using all data on the after on question Q1 2012, which was the quarter with the lowest sales on record. This slumps was attributed to the bad publicity surrounding fat loss tablets. Assuming there will be no further publicity outbreaks, we can discount the previous data and use all data, after which sales began to recover in 2012.
Quench.
For Quench, previous sales data for Quench, as shown on the figure, had been stable up until 2003. To forecast the sales for 2003 for Quench, both a moving average and trendline regression forecasts were used. Due to the fact that historic sales data were unstable, the trendline analysis was calculated using all data on and after 2011. When sales growth had stabilized, this gives a more accurate forecast based on the most recent sales data, which showed constant positive growth. This figure was combined with the moving average of last three periods, which gives an average forecast of two methods, which takes into account the most stable data range, but also places an emphasis most on the most recent data. For the Shake Shock, the data of the previous sales from Shake Shock shows a seasonal pattern with a trend for sales to increase year on year. In order to focus sales for this data, we conduct a time series forecast using both the addictive and multiplicative model, comparing the errors of each method. The addictive method was found to be more accurate than the multiplicative model, and therefore the forecast is based on this model. Therefore, I'll pass on to my colleague to talk on the findings, analysis, and discussions.
I'm Kennedy, and I'll be talking more about the findings, analysis, and discussions. The forecast for marks up using a moving average was 58,400 units. Using a trendline regression for forecast was 58,636 units. The average of these two methods give a forecast of 58,517 units. Although marked up is the highest contributor to the firm's total revenue, it is concerning that there is a trend for sales of marks up to decrease over time, and this may indicate that the product is in its decline stage. A repositioning strategy may be necessary to transform the product from a cash cow to a star, providing a growing positive revenue stream in future periods. Additionally, there was a change this year from previous years in which sales increased from Q1 to Q2 by 1,900 units. This is notable because in previous years sales have always declined in this period. This may indicate that sales of marks up will show a steadier, more stable but lower positive growth trend in future periods, although the overall trend is that sales have decreased. Due to the irregular sales, growth of less is more since the product launch. Future growth is difficult to forecast. The negative publicity surrounding fat loss tablets in 2011 caused by sharp decline in sales. However, since the trend has shown a steady increase in sales over time, assuming that there will be no more bad publicity outbreak in the future, the product is likely to continue to achieve a steady upward trend in sales. Using a moving average, the forecast for 2013 is 8,233 units, and using a trendline regression, 9,909 units. The average of the two methods gives a forecast of 9,071 units, which is an increase of 3,971 units from 2012. It is likely that the promotional campaign launched for Quench in 2012 prevented sales from declining in Q2 and Q3 as was seen in previous years, and therefore stabilized sales, creating a linear positive growth trend. The forecast for 2013 is 22,860 units using a moving average and 23 23,459 units using a trendline regression. The average of the two methods gives a forecast of 23,159 units, which is a slight drop in sales from the previous quarter. Despite this short-term drop, it is expected that sales will continue to show positive growth trend over the next few quarters. Previous sales data for Shake Shack shows steady sales growth with a seasonal variation. The highest sales data is always seen in Q2 and Q3, followed by a decline in Q4 and Q1. This may be explained by a higher demand for the product in the spring and summer months as people want to get in shape for the holiday season. It is expected that this positive growth will continue into future periods following the seasonal trend. Using the multiplicative model, the sales forecast for Shake Shack in 2013 is 43,762 units. The additive model gave a forecast of 42,417 units. Because the additional model proved to be more accurate, we can discount the multiplicative model, giving the most accurate forecast of 42,417 units from the additive model. This is in line with the trend from previous years for sales to increase from Q2 to Q3. In conclusion, I and my colleague Sambo, after analyzing the forecast, the sales growth of all four products, the following conclusions have been made. The company's highest earnings product, Marks Up, is displaying a slight negative sales trend over the time period. Therefore, it is recommended that some form of promotional activities or rebranding to change the product from a cash cow product to a star product is carried out in order to reverse this negative trend and to provide the company with positive growth revenue in the future. Shake Shack is currently a star product for the firm as it shows a strong positive growth trend year on year despite seasonal variations. This trend is likely to continue in future periods and currently no further promotional activity is needed to maintain the product's positive sales growth. Thank you.